Shawn Bolz Prophesies, millions won't die from COVID-19, the economy will surge, and revival will come. Stephen Strang, opinion. It's a preparation for an entire revival that we would have all of our technology in order and the practice that we need because God's going to bring half of the revival. It's going to happen virtually. Shawn Bolz. CharismaNews.com. A couple of weeks ago, Charisma News posted a prophecy from Shawn Bolz, who said the Lord showed him the end of the coronavirus. A few days later, Fox News interviewed Bolz about his prophecy, and treated his prophetic word fairly. Image above, Shawn Bolz, YouTube-Bolz Ministries, via Charisma News. Shawn tells me on my podcast that the response to the story about him on Fox News has been incredible. He says it was Fox News' #2 story, with millions of people reading it. If nothing else, this shows that people are hungry for God, perhaps even more so now that the coronavirus COVID-19 is wreaking havoc. Shawn's prophecy had two major points, he says. The first is that the enemy will flee as the church rises up. God has called the church to respond to COVID-19, not sit back passively and merely let it happen. God's going to turn the tide of this thing, he says. The second point of the word is that millions will not die from this. Fox News chose not to report on this, Shawn says, because their readers couldn't relate to that. I prophesied that this will not become a pandemic with pandemonium and millions dying, he says. They're going to say that millions will die, but millions won't die, especially in America. Shawn says that it's almost every day that major news sources cite a health professional who claims between 20 and 60 million people will die from this. Shawn says this will not happen. You have people who work alongside of the World Health Organization (WHO) saying, we're going down the doomsday road, he says. Then you have the prophetic community and the church saying, that's not where we're going. That's not God's story for our generation. And that's even more important than how fast it turns, is that God has a story for our generation, and it's not to take out a whole generation of people to purge or do something. That's not a prophetic word from God or God's desire. Shawn says WHO doesn't have the full equation. God wants to bring vaccinations as well as medical and scientific advancements that will move society forward. That could even include a cure for cancer. But how will this pandemic affect the church? Shawn believes it will only serve to give the church greater ground. The church has been last in line in the media space, he says. And God wants to give the church media space and social media space and internet real estate. That's just as important as their natural places they meet in. This is a training ground right now for the church to respond. Instead of churches just putting information up online, God is going to move churches to actually engage, build community and foster connection online, Shawn says. Churches that only want to remain information-focused in the online space will eventually disappear. It's a preparation for an entire revival that we would have all of our technology in order and the practice that we need because God's going to bring half of the revival. It's going to happen virtually, he says. And the second thing is that I believe right now there's about to be an economic upturn, not downturn. I believe the Lord showed me that Trump would win another term in office. I saw the financial condition of our economy. And in the second or third, by the end of the second year and beginning of the third year of his next 4 years in office, we're going to hit one of the greatest times, if not the greatest time, of economic stability in our history. That's setting us up for the next 20 years. I'm so grateful for people like Shawn who are standing up and speaking prophecy despite the media's contrary narrative. I only hope that the church will choose to heed these prophets instead of the media. Subscribe for free to Breaking Christian News here. Listen to my full interview with Shawn, where he shares many other prophetic insights the Lord has shown him. *, please don't miss our emerging and newly found prophets. Subscribe here.